Tooru. Once again, you're back on this channel, and once again, I have no idea what's going on with you. But let's see if you can be in a fighting game. I love fighting games, and I also love JoJo, so obviously, when All-Star Battle was announced to get a new release/total rework of the gameplay, I was pretty hyped. I'm really curious what exactly they're planning, like genuinely. Are they going to add a bunch of Part 7 and 8 characters now that they have a lot more fandom around them? Part 8's finally done. Are they maybe going to even add the Part 9 protagonist? I have no clue. We don't even know what Part 9's about yet, so maybe. But genuinely, what I thought instead was, instead of just predicting what characters would be in it, I'm kind of curious. Maybe I can sort of make movesets for characters that I definitely think should be in the game, and try to see if I can fit them into a fighting game archetype, and kind of give them their own personality, obviously. Make sure their stand abilities shine through, but really try to make sure they can actually mesh into a fighting game. So I put out a poll talking about some characters that I have definite ideas for a moveset, and Tooru absolutely decimated the poll, because Tooru is probably the biggest challenge of all. Tooru's ability, the Wonder of View, is obviously a long-ranged automatic stand, because every stand in JoJo's is that. Obviously I'm joking, but the idea of having a long-ranged automatic stand transition into a fighting game is genuinely pretty difficult. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this video is probably the hardest one out of the ideas that I had, and I'm really struggling a little, so hopefully any of this seems to make some sense. I think I kind of have an idea that not only represents Tooru's ability pretty well, but also actually makes you feel like you're playing as Tooru, not just some character. I feel like All-Star Battle really struggled with getting the actual stand abilities to the forefront and instead try to fit them into fighting game archetypes. So that's why I'm trying to focus on ensuring that you feel like you are being this specific character. Essentially, I'm trying to make sure each character I depict is a really unique playstyle that no other character could have possessed, while also having inspiration from the gameplay system itself. Before I delve into my own moveset of Tooru, I wanted to highlight some comments that were really interesting, because they thought of their own unique idea of how Tooru could play in All-Star Battle, and genuinely, some of them were pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie to you. And I just wanted to highlight them because I think they have a lot of potential as well, so if they don't go the way I think it would, I want to highlight them because they were really stand out.
I swear it was not intended. Like, I genuinely like.
So the first one I wanted to highlight was this comment by Fike223, who comes up with the idea of using the rock pets as part of his moveset. And genuinely, I don't know why I didn't really think about Tooru using the rock insects, rock animal stuff, when that's literally been an inherent part of his character throughout the entirety of the story. Not just even in his fights, but also in his flashback with Yasuo. And genuinely, I think it's pretty sick. I don't know. I don't really know why I didn't think of something like this, but this will definitely be a part of his moveset because it shows Tooru's overwhelming role as this sort of massive planner in charge of everything else and using these insects just as a tool, which is the way he views many of the other rock humans that he works with. And genuinely, I think that him using the insects not only would add a lot of variety to his moveset, but it also could fit into his entire gimmick of being a set play sort of focused character that focuses on trapping other people and, in short, trying to control the match entirely, which is very fitting with his character because he doesn't want anything approaching him or pursuing him at all. Really quickly, I wanted to bring up this comment from Ghostface in your bathroom as well, and he has some really cool insights on using Tooru in order to build up some sort of Calamity meter. I don't really know exactly how I feel about adding a whole new meter for a character. This does sort of go on the idea that I want each character to play uniquely. However, I feel as though having a meter fill up for Tooru's Calamity doesn't necessarily feel the same as how Tooru's Calamity actually works in the manga. It's kind of confusing because it really kind of does work how a meter would, so this is probably the best way of transitioning Tooru's gameplay to a fighting style. However, a meter denotes the idea of it not being automatic, which makes it feel like you wouldn't really be having the Wonder of You at all as a stand. And it's kind of difficult to go about this because I can definitely see this working, not as a meter, but as a stance for a character. But I'll get into that in a bit. So now that we've got some actual ideas on how Tooru could possibly play, like with the rock insects and with the Calamity meter slash stance form, I just got to figure out how to mesh all this stuff together, because oh my god, imagine a puppet master character who can also summon monsters, who also has a stance change, who also has all this other stuff. Tooru, he's definitely an intimidating character, to be sure, but you know, we're gonna get something done. He's feeling a lot more like a Guilty Gear character than anything else, and it's really intimidating, like, the more I think about it, but, you know. Let's do a little breakdown on how exactly All-Star Battles gameplay actually works. Every character has special moves, like a normal fighting game, but each character has two supers, one being a very powerful super, and another just being a normal, not as damaging super, with not really as much dramatics to it. I already, the second I thought of Tooru, had an idea for his more dramatic super, but thinking about his more normal super was a bit of a challenge, I'm not gonna lie. Now that we're finally done with all that pretense, let's get into how I think Tooru would be interpreted in this game. Yes, the stupid bundle of sticks is actually an integral part of Tooru's gameplay, and personally, probably my favorite thing that I came up with in this entire video. I know that sounds really dumb, but hear me out. So, do-do-do-do-de-da-da-da, which I will never refer to it as that again, I will only call it the rock insect, has the ability to be a long-range trap tool that Tooru is able to use. But not only can he use it for long range, he can use it in two very different ways. Firstly, he could be able to use the do-do-do-da-da-da, why am I calling it that? The rock insect's string that it uses against Josuke to wrap around the opponents and cause them to be stuck in place, thus allowing Tooru to come up close if he chooses to do so. This mode is entirely based off of Whole Horse's and Jay Giles' interactive trap move from Heritage of the Future, because I think it's really, really cool. Or, which is more accurate to the manga, the rock insect will be able to launch some of its sticks at the opponent, causing them to get struck with asbestos poisoning, causing some light poison damage that will go away after a few seconds, but genuinely, this is meant to strike fear into the opponent, saying, oh, I can't get up close to Tooru because of the Calamity buildup. However, I also can't be that far away from Tooru because he can just set out this trap that I'll have to avoid at all costs. I'm not entirely sure how exactly you are going to be able to move it, but I think it would be really cool if you place it down once and you're able to manipulate it from afar. Very similar to how the Wonder of You does in his final fight with Josuke. Now, earlier in that fighting game scenario, I said Tooru was in a mode called Calamity Stance. Now, what exactly is that? Let me tell you. Calamity Stance is a special move, not a super move, meaning that every single attack that Tooru is given in this exact span of time, which won't really be that long, it'll probably be like 5 seconds, will be countered and reflected onto the opponent. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Say that you're playing as Josuke, because I keep using Josuke because he has very little range and he's a very popular character. Let's say Josuke does a do-da-da-da-da. Seeing that would have many hits, Tooru's Calamity Stance would keep stacking the attacks one after the other. So eventually, when the stance finally ends, Tooru is able to summon a much larger attack than he would with someone with only one hit or just a few hits. However, this isn't exactly a counter. Say Tooru does get hit enough times where he would actually lose health and just be dead, then the Calamity would simply not come out. There's a large risk and reward element with this special move, and that's why I think personally it's pretty cool. Now, when thinking about Tooru, obviously another massive part of his character is the Wonder of You. So how exactly would I incorporate that into Tooru's gameplay? To encourage the gameplay style of trying to keep your enemies at bay, the Wonder of You will attack with his cane, which he has primarily in every scene he's in the series. Without even knowing the character, this would give the player the idea that the Wonder of You sort of excels in ranged attacks and not really is that strong up close. However, this is where Tooru's first super would come in. I feel as though the Wonder of You has a lot of really great potential to have a counter super. When the opponent is finally able to get in, the Wonder of You would be able to activate a counter and do a Calamity attack. Now, this might seem like it's related to the Calamity stance, but it's not. It's just a cool cutscene that would play. But what would I inspire this specific one off of? There's so many options. It could have been Mamazuku's scene, it could have been Nijimura's scene, but personally, I feel as though the most creepy and intimidating usage of the Wonder of You was in Norisuke's scene in chapter 108. I felt as though the Wonder of You literally still showing up even after it has been defeated really made this creepy, ominous nature, and having the character that the opponent is playing as be zoomed in and have the Wonder of You be seen from their mouth, I feel like it would be really, really intimidating and just cool to look at. Originally, I planned on this being a super that would only be able to be activated after you have died, but I don't really feel that would be possible or really fair in a fighting game. So I could see any of the options like Nijimura's scene or Mamazuku's scene being a much more accurate representation of the Wonder of You's Calamity abilities in the manga. Now when it comes to Tooru's final super, there was literally only one thing that I had in mind. Tooru's most powerful Calamity that he has throughout the entire series. You know it, is the airplane door. Let's go back to that theoretical little fighting game plane that I had earlier with Part 4 Josuke and Tooru. Imagine you're playing against a Tooru player for the first time, and you have no idea what this character's about. Maybe you haven't read Part 8, and they pull off some strange little animation. Nothing happens. It must be a taunt or something, you know. Obviously, Tooru's whole gimmick is to try and get you to approach him, but then it causes a lot of negative things to happen to you. So, this thing, it must have been a taunt, you know? They're trying to mess with me. And then out of nowhere, a massive airplane door bashes straight into you. I think that this move is perfectly emblematic of what kind of character I think Tooru is trying to be. He's trying to be someone to taunt you in order to get the most punishing effect out of you. That's literally the point of his stand. No one can approach Tooru, so you gotta make sure you're in control at all times, not just up close, but from a distance. And this super, it seems so innocent, so endearing, just like Tooru. It seems like nothing is going wrong, and then out of nowhere, a ton of damage. Now, obviously, if you weren't able to block this, it would be really broken. However, this is just emblematic of what makes Tooru himself. If you know it's coming, and you know Tooru is menacing, you're gonna not want to approach him. And when you see this little animation, you're gonna wanna block, because you know, if you don't block, you're gonna get destroyed. But if you block, you'll be totally fine. Evidently, this sort of gameplay style makes Tooru a lot less menacing the more we know about him, which is very fitting with the idea of Part 8's villain as a whole. So yeah, those are all my thoughts on Tooru's moveset. Genuinely, I think he's a pretty decent character. I like his equal distribution of long-range attacks with his short-range offense of the Wonder of You. With the whole Calamity gimmick, I think it definitely makes it feel like he is him. Like, I don't think there's any other character that sort of has that same sort of gameplay style like Tooru. And I think I did it pretty well, I'm not gonna lie. This was really hard though, like really difficult. I can't even imagine how actual fighting game developers do this with all of the unique little quirks that each character has, so massive respect to the people who actually are able to do this for a living, because oh my god, just one character in a fighting manga actually was insanely difficult, so definitely got to give props to actual fighting game devs. And I also just want to say that thinking about this was really fun in a way. It was very difficult, like I said, very, very difficult. But genuinely, I had a lot of fun doing this. I've never really done something like this in depth before. I've always thought of fun stuff like, oh, what if this character was in Smash? But, you know, this was really fun too. Let me know any characters you want me to talk about below, because I still have a lot of people that I'm very interested in making a little moveset for. I'm not going to say I can do every character, because I definitely can't make a moveset for like Aya from Part 4, because that would be literally impossible, but I can try my best with characters that I think could actually be feasible in a fighting game. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you consider supporting the channel. You know, the YouTube spiel, like, comment, subscribe, and all that. And yeah, thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a good one.